Hello. Sorry for being a couple of minutes late here. We've been having some major technical issues. So, my name is Moira. I am a mindfulness coach, and I have been invited on by my dear friend Kat to talk to you today about Kat's waving here. I'm going to talk to you today about mindfulness. And we had to be mindful while we were going through these stressful technological issues. Mindfulness is talked about so much, but what I wanted to share with you today is some really quick tips about how to bring mindfulness into your everyday life and actually help you get some of the wisdom that you might be ignoring because you're allowing yourself to get too busy or stress, busyness, and fear knocks us all out of mindfulness. So to give you an idea of what I mean by mindfulness is it's all about accepting what is and not judging right, wrong, good, bad, should, shouldn't. And we actually do that all the time. I need to be doing this. I should be doing that. I shouldn't think those thoughts. These are positive or negative thoughts. The thing about mindfulness is just to actually observe what you're thinking at any point. Good or bad doesn't matter. Just see it. Just allow it to be. Accept what is. That is all about allowing yourself to just be in the moment. Because the truth is by being in the moment, that's where you truly do have the most power. So as a scenario on that one, if you think about a fear of, oh my God, I have to achieve this goal, or I need to do this because I might lose money or lose the contract or lose whatever, that fear is outside of this present moment. By saying, okay, there's a fear or there's a voice in me, just accept that that's what it is, take a deep breath, and then ask yourself, what can I do right in this moment? And that allows, from a mindfulness perspective, that allows your deep wisdom to whisper in your ear or to actually guide you in the space of saying, it's okay, or do this, or make this call, or even do nothing. Because sometimes that moves me on to the next point that I wanted to share with you about mindfulness is to actually, so I just said about judging thoughts right and wrong. We also judge emotions or feelings as right and wrong. And the thing about feelings is you have to understand that every one of our feelings they're trying to keep us safe. They're to keep us away from danger and steer us toward happiness. That's all they're doing. So by allowing yourself to mindfully just feel what you're feeling and be okay with it, understanding you're being steered. And generally we're going to want to go being steered towards happiness. And happiness for all people is different. What makes me happy is not going to be what makes you happy. So being really careful to allow yourself to just feel that feeling and move on anyway, because no feeling will stick if you don't give it more resistance. Resistance will make it hang around and not, because you're not getting the wisdom that is behind that, if that makes sense. Be sure and ask any questions if I'm kind of going too fast or not making sense here. So the idea of the key piece of all of this, whether it's a thought or a feeling, is the non-judgment part. So something that as a tip that would be really, really good for you to try is to just witness what feelings are happening, what thoughts are happening, and write them down. I encourage people to actually carry a little notebook around with them sometimes, especially if you're doing a lot. If you're engaged in your business and you've got a lot going on, just be present to the feelings and thoughts that are coming up from you. And remember, non-judgment, just write them all down. And so at the end of the day, it can actually be very helpful for you to actually go and read through the list of the feelings and thoughts that you had, because there's often an intelligence happening that in there that's trying to get your attention. So for instance, if you're going around saying, well, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that, and I don't like this part, and I don't like doing this, and you have all those thoughts, like I said, you're not judging them as right or wrong, but then just notice. Notice, where are you resisting, and where are you feeling like you have to push past that resistance. So that's a big part that takes us into the next part that I wanted to share with you about mindfulness, is the acceptance of all that is. So when you can get into a place of really just accepting all that is, meaning you have these thoughts, you have these feelings, when you accept everything as is with you, there's something magical that starts to happen, in that you accept all that is with everyone else. And that allows so much depth of connection, number one, because there is no judgment. You're not going around saying, well, you're too much this or too much that, or I'm too much this or too much that, or not enough this or not enough that. So when you can actually come into a place of, I accept everything that is and do what I want, allowing my feelings to steer me towards happiness and keep me safe. Because that's the other part of those feelings, like fear, for instance. Fears can be unjustifiable or completely based on something that is a memory that came up from the past. It's not based on anything. So that's the other part of when you're going through your log of the feelings and thoughts that you had, is just honor that everything that you experienced and went through was about keeping you safe. But here's the other part around that. And this will take a little bit more of a dedicated look into what's going on for you. Because remembering that all of this is about, mindfulness is a lot about having you being the observed and the observer in the exact same moment. So that means, and that this tool that I'm suggesting to you actually will really help for that, because when you're being busy and not really paying attention but still writing down okay, I just did this and I felt this, or I just did this and I thought that, just becoming more aware of it. And then when you have a wee bit more time at the end of the day, or at least once a week, you want to do this, but if you could do it on a daily basis, that would be even better, to actually check in with that. Because now you're going to get to really sit in that observer state and say, interesting, I was thinking this, or I was feeling really tired, or I've been pushing myself too hard, and here's why. And here's what I can do to help myself, recuperate, regenerate, get back into my stride. But when we get into too much frenetic energy and just keep pushing, which a lot of us do, even I do this too. I mean, I teach and talk mindfulness, but I walk this too. So I'm sharing from a perspective of being interested in a space of, look at where you're getting triggered, look at where you're being pushed by you, look at where you're judging or where you're attached to the outcome. Because that's the last point I wanted to share with you, is about the don't be attached to the outcome. So let's say a scenario is that you really want to land a specific contract, or earn a certain amount of money, or get a specific kind of client. And so you look at all the things that you have to do. What is it you're offering? What is it they want? What's the opportunity? What do you actually have to do? Because you have to get into action here. So the thing about getting into action with non-attachment is all about being clear on your thoughts and your feelings. You're saying that I accept all that is, and now you're getting into I am not attached to the outcome. Because here's something that's very interesting. When we start to peel back the layers of who we are and really walk this space of being the observed and the observer, we actually start to find out things about ourselves that we may not even have been aware of in the past. That certain relationships, certain activities, certain proclivities help you feel closer to that happiness, closer to being happier and all that you truly are. Because really, we are all divine beings working out how to best be in our divinity. But when we get really stuck in the third dimensional thinking, doing, have to do, should do. We miss this. But the intelligence is always there, which is why mindfulness is so, so important. But then the piece around the non-attachment is when we start showing up and doing the activities of our daily routines, whether it's at home or in the workspace or in business, being non-attached to how the outcomes show up, we can then start to really generate the outcomes that we really wanted to from a soul level that we may have been missing when we were too stuck in that, I got to do this because so-and-so says, or I got to do this because that person is doing it that way. So it's to actually really start getting into the space of allowing what's in your highest, best interest. Because the truth is, we often don't know. We think we do. But we can start to maybe feel. So somebody's just joined, and to say welcome to Mr. Green on Blab here. The host is Kat, and she's actually having microphone issues today. So I'm her guest, and I'm telling you all about mindfulness. So the main areas that I've covered with this is to help you be open, more expansive, to be in touch with the inner voice. I've often said to people that I believe we're all walking multiple personalities. And so that's the key piece of that, of being in touch with what's the inner voice. Is it a critical voice? Is it a cheerleader voice? And not judging any of them right or wrong, just seeing what they've got to say, because there's an intelligence there, but then you get to choose if you're going to follow it or not. So for instance, an inner judge voice might be saying, don't try that, don't go there. Who are you to try and step into that bigger project or that bigger place of being? You can choose to listen to that and freeze and not really get into that bigger space. Or you can choose to say thank you, but I'm going to do it anyway. That one is one of the most empowering things for you to do. So the thing too is to be really careful when you hear a critical voice. Hello, Cindy.
Yeah.
When you hear like a critical dialogue happening, you get to tune it out, to listen to it or to tune it out. But also, if you could do from a mindfulness perspective, is to actually understand that it's coming up for your highest good. And when I'm saying your highest good, it's there, number one, because it wants to keep you safe, but it's often because it's keeping you safe from something from the past, and it doesn't need to be there anymore. So if you can just have a wee bit of gratitude for it, accept it is what it is, but I'm going to do something different. Because the truth is that if you want a different result to what you're having, what you're getting in your abundance levels, in your work levels, in your relationships, or even just with the relationship with you, if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. Remember, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So the thing about back to what I was just saying about the critical dialogue, I really encourage you to just pause for a wee minute. If it's really super critical, and I know a lot of my clients walk around like this too, having conversations where they're really ripping themselves apart of like, there is no way I have the capability of doing this or that or whatever it is. And it's mean. The truth is, I think we speak way harsher to our own selves than we would ever speak to somebody else. And so that's what I really encourage you to do. If that's what's going on for you, stop for a second, take a deep breath, just focus on your breath, get back into your body, and think to yourself, how would you talk to a friend or a colleague or someone outside? How would you talk to them? What would you say? And just think about that for a wee second. How would you talk? And I know majority of people will come up with endearing things of it's if the thing is to be you look great, by the way. She says, not looking professional on camera. You look fine. Um, and she can't be heard, so she looks great too. So to finish what I was saying about um, it, when you're having that inner voice that's saying you're useless, or you can't do this, or you're stupid, or whatever it is, whenever I help somebody pause and say, what would you say to somebody that's saying that? And you can immediately think, well, look at all the wonderful things you've done. You're such an intelligent person, and that is such a limited viewpoint. And so then you need to turn that around on you. You need to talk to yourself as your own best friend, so that it can actually start to, what that can do is actually start helping you release the power or the hold that the negativity has on you. So that's actually my tips, and it's taken a wee bit shorter because I haven't been able to talk to Kat about it. So Cindy, seeing as I've got you here on camera, did you have any questions about mindfulness?
Well, one of the things that I run into and is that the difference between knowing that voice is really a warning versus my self-doubt talk.
Ah,
So
brilliant
where do
question.
you, I mean, no, it's going into meditation and prayer, but maybe a little more specific way of how can we know that difference?
Thanks so much for asking that question. I love that question. Um, so for me, there's a really quick, absolutely going into meditation and further dialogue with it will actually help clear it up. But a really quick and fast way is to look at what is the tone and how incessant is it. Because the truth is, fear-based inner critic voice is high-pitched and it's coming from your head. So it's going to prattle on and on and on and on and tell you can't do this because of this, because of this, because of this, and remember that happened then, and it'll just keep going, and you can't seem to shut it up. True inner guidance is much quieter, and it's coming from your gut. You know, the gut feeling. People talk about the gut feeling. So your inner so you're talking about the two different types of fear. So a fear or a caution that's coming from your wise sage part of you is going to be a lot more succinct, and it's going to have a deeper tonality about it because it's coming from the depths of you. So it won't say very many words. It'll say all is well, or this will pass, or just be aware of the circumstances or situations that you are in. Because the thing is fear is a gift. Fear is there to keep you safe. But when it's incessant or based on things that are coming from your past. So that's the other part of it, is to make sure you're basing what's going on for you right now. So a fear that says, go and pitch a project or contact somebody, and a fear that says, oh, you can't do that, that, they'll say no to you, or they won't like you, or they won't get it. You can also just pause right there and say, is that the truth? Or am I making up a story based on something that happened in the past? Or something that I think's happening because I'm listening too much to that high-pitched chatter? Then that to me is the best way to distinguish between the two, is that the high-pitched, incessant nature of it, as opposed to a one or two word guidance that says, this is how it is. Did that answer your question, Cindy?
Yeah, that helps. Is my mic working? Yeah, okay.
Yes, your mic's working. I can
I
hear you.
put on the pause because I've got some traffic coming by today.
Gotcha.
Okay, and I'm going to do the other side of it. The difference between the go ahead, hey, I want that thing versus, we went on the negative side. Now go to the positive side of that. When do we know the difference? I presume it's similar on the tone of voice
Yep.
between the, okay, yes, that's really a goal, and it's a positive side of it versus just the, my head is up in that clouds and I want to do that and I don't care what's going to happen.
Pie in the
Voice to it.
sky. I so this one is like you say, it is similar. The thing about it is just to perceive the feelings in your body. So I know for myself that I might have a sense of fear that's like, oh my God, I can't do that, I can't do that. And yet in that, and it's actually similar area, the sort of solar plexus area or the gut, there's an excitement, the yeah, but guess what's going to happen outside of that, or what could happen. And so a really key piece, and I learned this in I did a law of attraction coach certification years ago, and one of the things that we used to talk a lot about, and it really applies to this, is that check in with your body. How is your body? Check your shoulders and say, when you say, I'm going to do it, are your shoulders lifted? There's a feeling of a lift. Even you might still be feeling totally panicked and fear, but is there a little lift? Or is it this? That's your yes and no. So when you're saying, yeah, I'm really scared, I'm freaked out about this opportunity or this idea, but your body's kind of like, yeah, let's go. That's the best way to discern it. So like I said, it's just really coming back into your body, which is so much of what mindfulness is about, is because the mind and the body communicate to each other, but we often miss the signs. Like you think about the butterflies in your tummy. Well, those are usually excitement. And yet sometimes people will say, oh, it's because they've got an upset stomach. But if they actually tuned in a little bit, it's actually it's the nervous excitement of, hey, you're on track. You're lining up with something really big. But the other part too that we all have to realize is that we resist change. And so that fear-based dialogue cannot say steady on, everything's been fine up until now. Who are you to go and throw a spanner in the works or start doing something differently? But the truth is on a soul level, we need to. We have to. That's what we are here for. Whereas on the ego level of, oh, it's all safe. It's safe when I do it this way or that way or not step out. But when we really start playing that game of the observed and the observer and flip in and out, that's when we can actually start really getting into more of the divine expression, finding out what is it that you want on a core level. So did that help you? Does that make sense?
Yep, that worked.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So like I said, the big part, so just to kind of wrap that all up, what I've been sharing is that the whole piece of being aware. In fact, and Kat knows this. I've shared this my 3 A's before about, and this really leads into what we've been talking about here. The 3 A's that I talk about a lot are acceptance, awareness, and action. So what I was just suggesting to you here about keeping a wee journal or a wee notepad of writing down your thoughts, the voices in your head, your thoughts, your feelings, that's you just accepting is what it is. You're not judging any of it, but you're looking at it for future sort of visiting with yourself, checking in, how am I doing? And then so there's your awareness. Then you have to just accept it is what it is, right or wrong. I'm good at this, I'm bad at that. Those are all okay. And then Kat's is approach, adopt, and adapt. They actually fit together beautifully with the awareness, acceptance, action, because the truth is once you accept what is, then you can get into action. So a lot of my clients have fought this acceptance one. Sometimes this one's hard because if you have a habit or if you have an idea or you keep going into that fear-based place, it's hard to accept that's what I do. I procrastinate or I sabotage my own best efforts, or I bite my nails, or I overeat, or I comfort eat. If I start saying to you, you can't change it until you accept it, so many people will fight that one, because acceptance does not mean I'm keeping it or that it's okay. It just is. Remember the non-judgment. It is what it is. Then, when you're in a space of saying, okay, is what it is, but I don't like it, or it's uncomfortable, or I think that it would be nicer to try something different, then you can actually take on the habits or the decisions that are going to allow you to line that up with that. On the flip side, if you don't do the acceptance part and you go completely into action, and people do this a lot, just action, 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 that's, we have willpower, get it done, toughen up and stiff upper lip and all that kind of stuff. And we can do that. But you are going to crash, because at some point it's going to become too much, because you've pushed against your own guidance, your own requirements. The needs from you are being completely overlooked because you're just driving yourself in from a head space and not dropping into your own internal wisdom. What is it you really want? When we're in our head, we're forgetting to check in with that. So thank you. And thank you for your great question, Cindy.
Cool. Thank
and
you.
thanks
Kat
for
asked me, because I know Kat kind of likes to stick this to a half an hour.
Yes.
You're coming to the top of that half hour.
We are wrapping it up now, yes. So I want to say thank you so much to Kat. It was great to see you.
Cool. Thank
Great
you,
to see
Kat,
Kat.
for always running these Fast Action Fridays. This is fun. And
absolutely.
Thanks, Moira, for answering the questions and doing that. And I know Kat's going to be back at 1 o'clock with Steve Henry for
very cool.
Their free Friday. Looking where it is. It's flowing away.
No, sign language. Good one.
Oh yeah, well I could do that, but that's another whole thing.
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
That's a whole absolutely ball of wax, right?
This has been my pleasure. I'm actually going to wrap this up and sign off. I'm the one that's recording, so I'll deal with that with Kat later.
Good.
Okay.
Very good.
Take care.
And I know
Bye.
Moira's website for anybody, MoiraHutchison.com and /inspire your inner light.
Yes, that's my club.
That's yours.
So my website is wellnesswithmoira.com, and the inspire is www.moirahutchison.com. Inspire your inner light. Awesome.
And then Kathy is rockingyourpath.com. And you can get a hold of her. All right, cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later, Kat.
Bye, Kat.